Sivir, Zeri, Lucian, banned by TT. And the Azir, Talia, and the Kalista banned by RA. First pick of the Poppy coming through.
This is looking a lot like game number 1 right here, with the Poppy coming on in. Does Leyan lock in the Nidalee again is my question. Scaling AD carry locked in for iBoy.
Oh my god, we get the salty run back.
It's exactly the same as game number 1 in the series here. The long-range composition being set up by RA. Do TT change things? They fell 10,000 gold behind in game number 1 of the series. They somehow found a comeback and won that one out in the end. But I think you've got to change tanks a little bit and bring some early game presence to be able to punish what Leona will be doing.
Oh my god. If we just get the rinse and repeat comp, that's going to be actually crazy. But we also have seen, on top of the memes, the actuality of Sylas domination in this series, right? So seeing Ucal pick up that one after that game 1 performance, it's going to be something to watch out for in this game for RA, and hoping that they have something to pick against it, right? Because, oh, there you go. Might be it as we get the Renekton. The Aphelios, though, tried and true for TT.
Okay, so we do see a change up from the side of Rare Atom going for, you'd assume they're top laner. We've seen a tiny bit of mid lane Renekton, but let's just assume it's going to Cube up in the top side. Cube has played this, I think it's his second most played in his entire career. Works super well with the Nidalee, and sets you up with a potential win condition on that top side as well, crucially. So I feel like maybe they're going to play more towards weak side in the bottom lane again, while Leyan and Cube and Strive try and take over the top side, denying some of these weak side picks, though. The Braum that we saw being taken off of the board. You could ban something like a Tahm Kench if you wanted to really just deny this Aphelios. Renata would be a fantastic pick to try and deny as well.
I want to see them ban that Alistar. I don't know. I would love to see some changes in the bottom lane. But yeah, there you go. All right, ban that Alistar away. We get the Jax, as you were saying, kind of taking that away from Cube himself. But I still want to see where this last ban obviously focused towards the potentially solo laners here for TT. But there's also the begging question of, okay, they can just go for the Gwen. I was going to say there are still some very powerful supports on the board, but they want to go for that solo lane presence.
I just want to quickly point out the fact that TT genuinely believe that this is Strive taking Renekton mid. With a Gwen and a Jax ban, like, they are fully all in on the idea that Strive is taking Renekton mid. This is not for Cube in the top side. We'll have to see if that's going to end up being the case. They're just sticking with it.
They just do. Kepler and Hoya, they're on Aphelios and Sejuani duty. That's it. That's all that there is to say about it. But again, we're seeing a lot of nostalgia from game number 1, right, for TT. Yeah. You're getting that front in your face bruiser composition backed up by the team fight potential of this Aphelios. And now that you have the long range decision making of the Solar Flare, this comp for TT, it's looking scary. The Nautilus is a good difference maker, I feel like, for RA in that turn, but this pick has to do something here. This last pick for RA really needs to be a game changer.
So I feel like TT not sure on this final pick. RA not sure on the final pick because TT read them well, right? Banned away a couple of the picks. So Cube is going to have to take this Renekton to the top lane, which I think they did want Strive to take. And Strive goes with the Zoe once again. So very similar compositions coming out here, where you have the Leona replacing that Alistar, and RA changing up ever so slightly as well. But fundamentally the same game, right? Fundamentally the same as game number 1. And it's kind of blowing my mind, honestly, because it's basically TT saying, look, we intended to fall 10,000 gold behind in game number 1. That was all just part of the plan. I really hope that they could change something in the early game. They cannot afford to let Leyan get the massive lead that he did early on in the first game of the series.
Yeah, I want to talk about that a little bit here, because going from that first game, right, it was constant bot lane focus from Beichuan, right? He consistently ganked iBoy and Yuyanjia every single chance he got in that early game. But the entire time, you were having enormous CS differentials for Cube and Leyan. That was the difference. But the changing moment was when that poke comp was starting to get into the later game. A decisive call from TT quickly gave the momentum to the tanky, up in your face, team fight heavy team, and they won the game because of it. Now is a chance for RA not only to be the spoilers of TT getting in playoffs. To give them a loss here denies them the LPL Summer Playoffs. But RA, on their last series, with everything looking to the future, retooling, trying to figure out what works for this squad, coming off the momentum of game number 2. I love that we've gotten to this point. It is game 3 of our first series of the night. Playoff implications on the line. TT versus RA, and we're already getting a little bit of that spice from TT with potentially some early vision game here. But again, it's all on the junglers at this point to see where they focus, Munchables.
Absolutely. Let's quickly talk about how these compositions are going to function as well, right? Because when you look at RA, this is like a classic 2020 composition. Like, if you just looked at the RA composition, you'd assume that you're watching like Top Esports versus JDG in the finals of 2020, right? Because, you know, this Zoe just wants to push the wave as hard as she can and roam around the map, mostly looking towards that top lane, right? With Leyan and Cube having this Nidalee Renekton combo. It's incredibly potent. It's incredibly hard to survive. Hoya still going with that Ignite. Crucially, one thing we saw in game number 1 and game number 2 was when they gank Hoya, keep your eyes on Leyen's positioning, on Cube's positioning, because they will try and stand in front of that Sejuani so that she can't Q out of the play, right? The Q is blockable. It's just like Gragas's body buff, right? Where if you're stood in the way, it will not get any movement whatsoever. So keep your eyes on that. Anticipate Leyan clearing up towards that top side, maybe even skipping a few camps to try and get some cheese down onto Hoya and get Cube a big advantage. On the other side, though, Beichuan, he could just look towards the bottom lane again. That's what we saw in game number 1. It worked beautifully. Obviously, he fell behind in CS, but could find Kepler a lead, which seems to be generally the strategy for TT.
I will say, looking at that bottom lane, it's just been a little point, right, in every game. But iBoy and Yuyanjia are so good at finding the early wards from TT, right? They got one in this one as well, but they found it in last game. And it's just the little advantages. But I want to see them kind of try to utilize that, because I would expect, like, some of that aggression to come out from this bottom lane early on from RA. But then knowing when to back off for this game is going to be so crucial and a difference from game number 1.
It definitely will be. I'm curious how the early laning goes for Strive as well on this Zoe, because Zoe definitely having the best of the matchup early, but Beichuan moving into the mid lane.
That's Randuin's early, so just slowing down Ucal. Ucal goes back to the wave, but Beichuan looking in mid lane. A differentiation from last game, because he's not hovering. Oh, he's going back to his bottom lane, knowing that Leyan could be going for that aggression like he did in that game 1.
Looking slightly wide for Yuyanjia. Yaoyao goes in. It's just going to be a bit of harass back and forth here. But yeah, Beichuan, really interesting pathing here. Foregoing his top side. Wants to make the play onto iBoy. Yuyanjia, no flash.
Yaoyao flashes forward, trying to get the lockdown. Beichuan goes onto iBoy. They have the damage onto Yuyanjia. The burning coming down, and first blood to Yaoyao as iBoy just tried to trade back some damage.
And once again, we see Leyan happily trading this for camps, right? On the Gromp now, already took the Wolves and the blue buff. And can even look towards the top scuttle. Maybe even a dive, I don't know. Hoya not that low on HP right now, so it would be kind of a risky dive to go for. And I feel like they're going to decide against it. Strive, once again, just getting charged by Beichuan. And crucially, Strive, if you can burn that flash on a Zoe, incredibly vulnerable. If you can burn Zoe's flash and then get her further forward in the lane, very gankable. Let's take another look, though, as this is, Yuyanjia using that flash. Kepler just answers it.
It's really unfortunate timing there, because Beichuan, as you said, the kind of unique pathing. At this point, though, I feel like we're with we saw the entire clear from Leyan pretty much, so I would wonder that communication. But Cube, talk about communication, he's going to communicate to Leyan to come help him, but it's not in time. And Beichuan, that's the second kill for TT. Leyan has to get away.
All right, I love the proactivity here from Beichuan, getting around the map, getting advantages for his laners, because it's so important that Hoya doesn't fall dramatically behind early on. Kepler moving up alone. Obviously, Yaoyao moved up to that top side, so Kepler playing this one safe. I like the ward just to make sure that there's no shenanigans that are occurring here, but he will arrive. He'll be able to clean up some of the CS. Crucially, a plate does go over to iBoy. I'm going to try and say crucially less. I've been told in the break by Hysterics that I've been saying it all the time. I didn't even notice. Like,
is it
my
crucial?
first day color casting, guys. It's crucial that I say it less here in game number 3.
Man, I wonder how crucial it is. But anyways, we'll see how crucial that can crucially be for... No, okay, I'll stop. Anyways, Dragon is on the board here. We'll see that early game focus. Again, Beichuan hovering so heavily around the bottom lane with not having his top side available to him. I wonder if they do kind of try to put that emphasis on those objectives, that early skirmishing. But I just want to check back in, right? Like, we're getting a lot of the same feelings from game number 1. RA are checking the boxes that they did in game number 1. They're getting leads in top. They're getting leads in jungle, albeit not as much because of the level 1 that came out from TT in game number 1 from Hoya. But still seeing them utilize that Renekton with the Nidalee combo with this setup should be a much different game. Trying to get mid on Ucal. They get the Sleepy Trouble Bubble a little bit later. That spear does connect, but it's not enough.
Yeah, big damage on Ucal. Forced to flash as well. It's a little disrespectful from Ucal to be going for 2v1 trades in the mid lane, honestly. But he'll survive ultimately. Should be able to just clean up this CS, especially with Beichuan moving in as well. And just sets up for that CS to go down. Keep trying to pressure here. And now they're a little bit stronger. They can go for this dive.
They are indeed, and the Glacial Prison did not connect there. Hoya surviving for a little bit longer. Leyan does get the pounce and gets out beautifully. They do have, actually, Beichuan coming up. He's going to stop at the Scuttle Crab, though.
Yeah, I don't think he can go for anything more here. Ucal moving over the crab, dodging the spear there. Beichuan, the one to get it. The CS lead, not quite as dramatic for Leyan this game, but with that kill, it doesn't really matter so much. Still a big advantage for him. This is the power of the Renekton-Nidalee combo that we see. Renekton happy to stack up the tower while Nidalee does the damage. Hoya, I think, played that about as well as he could have. All in at the bottom side, though.
It's a really good play from Yuyanjia to stop the follow-up on the iBoy there. Just a lot of damage traded back, though. Back and forth in his bottom lane. It's actually Kepler and Yaoyao keeping that aggression there. So Beichuan not having an in necessarily in his bottom lane just yet, but it's still been a really good bouncing game from at least that side of it. But now Leyan and Cube in the top side.
Yeah, really, really good preemptive ultimate there from Hoya as Leyan's coming in onto the play. So denies the initial burst, tries to escape with the Q as well. It's a valiant effort, honestly, from Hoya. That's the kind of dive that it's exceptionally hard to survive, especially if you don't have flash, right? Still running the Ignite here in the matchup, just wanting to have a little bit of pressure to stop Cube being able to try for 1v1 all-ins and just try and find the kills himself. So well played by Hoya to try and survive, but ultimately Renekton Nidalee comes out stronger in the top side. Leyan as well, continuing to extend that CS lead. It's about even overall, though, across the map. That's the crucial thing. TT not falling too far behind just yet. I said crucial again. I can't stop saying crucial, man.
It's part of your blood. But in all actuality, it is a difference, right, that we saw. Beichuan has been more active around the map. He ganked bottom lane in game 1 like 3 or 4 times, right, like consecutively. So seeing him actually be able to go around the map is huge. But I'm looking at next steps here. We got Dragon. We got Rift Herald. It looks like we're going to get a split map as well for both.
Beichuan, we talked about him going bot lane. He wants to do it again. Summon is available, though.
I don't know if they get this one. They're a little bit far stretched here as Yaoyao is still trying to get back to the lane.
Yeah, Yaoyao wasn't in lane, right? So there's no setup for Beichuan to just start the play there. Will mean Kepler could just sweep up the wave, though. And big trade up on the top side, actually. Keep taking a couple of tower shots as well as Hoya going to go further for this one. Has his ultimate, but Leyan is up there doing the Herald right now.
Okay, so they didn't go for the Dragon play. They're actually going to contest this Rift Herald, and Leyan sees them come across mid lane, so he backs out of it.
I like this from the side of TT. Don't let Leyan just continue to stack up. If you give that Nidalee a Rift Herald, like 100% they're just going to dive Hoya again and just finish that tower off. So I like the counteractive play here. Yaoyao might be moving a little too aggressively, but actually just goes onto Yuyanjia, who's respecting the play.
Yeah, I think they get out of this one scot-free, though. That was actually a really nice hook onto the wall there to get him out of there. Cube actually kind of popped with Dominus. Going on to Hoya. Hoya hasn't used the Glacial Prison yet. Just trying to get some more pressure so they can secure this Rift Herald.
Yeah, so the Dominus used... I'm not super convinced by that one. Maybe thinking that there was going to be more of a fight for the Herald. And you do see a lot of Renektons preemptively using that Dominus before a fight to build up your Fury, right? But ultimately, no fight occurs. I don't think it'll be too big of a deal. The Renekton ult should be back up before anything else happens, so shouldn't be the end of the world for him as Beichuan trying to get more on the bottom side. But importantly, TT have not gone for the Drake, right? They could have traded this Drake for the Herald that was happening on the top side. They tried to contest the Herald. They don't manage it, and now we'll bubble in the jungle.
They're trying to get on the strive there, Ucal. Actually not going to connect. Now they have 4 bodies around this way, but now that RA also know that they're here, there's not really going to be a place where TT can just force that dragon just yet without being contested.
Yeah, I do feel like this is all going swimmingly for RA, honestly. Like, the game plan, right, is build a lead in the early game, play for objectives. This time you've got a Renekton instead of that Aatrox, but functionally the same purpose in these fights, right? Just be annoying, be in the middle of 4 members of TT, buy iBoy and Strive and Leyan space to throw out their long-range abilities, whereas for TT, same again, right? They need to close the gap in these fights. They need to get up close and personal and find the actual team fight, not just a poke battle. So for RA, everything looking great. With a 2,000 gold lead, they should be able to control these neutral objectives, and that's the dream. But crucially as well, I said crucial again. Oh my god, I can't stop saying it. Down on the bottom side, the Drake hasn't been taken just yet. So RA could get every single Drake this game if they want.
Absolutely. I think seeing them transition into this will be interesting, though, because we've seen that TT are not willing to kind of let these things go, right, comparatively to that first game. They were actually trying to get Leyan here as a depth charge used by Ucal. That's just a bit of pressure in trying to play the game in mid lane.
Yeah, not able to find it in the end. I just want to remind everyone, TT are against the ropes right now. For RA, this win doesn't really matter for them, aside from just looking good on your final game, right? They're out of playoffs. They can't make it into the top 10. But for TT, they need this win to make it into playoffs right now, and they're falling behind again. The strength that we saw from TT across the course of this split was all about the mid-jungle support trio working together to find advantages, and I feel like we just haven't seen that at all this series.
It's been interesting to watch kind of develop how they've stuck to this style through this entire series pretty much. Hoya is in trouble here against Leyan. The Rift Herald was used, and the Glacial Prison does get Hoya out of there. This top lane tower is not going to last much longer, and that's all 5 plates to this top side, and even more gold for RA. But that's exactly where I want to dive into the point you were saying. TT finally go for the dragon, but at this point, like, that's got to feel so good for RA to finish the season spoiling TT's playoff potential in the last moment where TT are on the cusp. All that elation, all that excitement around this squad, the fact that they would make it for the first time in this organization's name, but the first time in 3 years as a whole, right? Like, that is incredible. And I think RA are definitely pushing for that with this composition. They want to hit the nail on the head and send them home.
Yeah, and I want to point something out as well. BLG are sat watching this game, biting their nails right now, because there's a world where BLG still makes playoffs. It's if TT lose this series and then AL gets 2-0'd later on today, BLG will make it in. FPX as well, their odds increase dramatically with a TT loss. So honestly, there's a couple of teams here watching today that are very excited about the way this first series is going. TT, on the other hand, they're the team that wants them to win. Nobody else really minds if TT wins the series. It's just for TT to get in themselves.
Hey, come on. I know Kelsey's out there somewhere hoping TT get in. But in all actuality, right, like, the pressure is mounting for all the squad, for Ucal, who has stepped up a lot in this series, but needs to one more time. Beichuan with that aggressive movement. The shot calling needs to come from somewhere, Munchables.
Certainly does. Cube gonna go here onto Hoya. I don't think he's got much kill threat, though. Just gonna be trying to get some heavy trades going. And the thing is, this matchup is so nice for Cube if you can go for these heavy trades regularly, because A, it sets you up to potentially dive alongside your Nidalee, but B, you have sustain and Sejuani doesn't, so it's always gonna be nice for him. But also pressuring so Leyan can continue to take these camps away. The CS lead, not as dramatic as it was in game number 1, but it's still a 40 CS lead for Leyan. It's not something he's going to complain about.
And the top lane CS differential has stayed more consistently bigger for longer compared to that first game, where Hoya actually was able to get within like 30 CS of Cube. This time, right, they have had so much pressure on that top side, it's a little bit worse. But the question is, right, you're seeing TT move around with this trio. They're trying to collapse down towards this bottom lane, and do iBoy and Yuyanjia get out in time? And it looks like they, with all this vision, TT won't be able to make the play.
Yeah, not for the time being, unfortunately. And this is really not great for TT, honestly, because I feel like the way that they won game number 1 and the way that they came back in game number 2 was RA making big mistakes. Right now, in my mind, the way that this game is going to function, the way that this series might end, is just whether or not RA makes a big mistake and TT are able to punish it. Beichuan, good use of the steadfast presence, denies any all-in from Leyan there, but honestly, like, Beichuan has no agency in this game anymore. Leyan is dictating absolutely everything.
It's been really nice to see from him on a signature pick for Leyan with that aggression, with him being, you know, the sword moving forward for RA. I think it's been incredible, right? And that Night Harvester proc now, or at least power spike, will help them secure this Rift Herald and continue to mount that pressure. iBoy just get a little cheeky. He wants that farm, all right?
Look, I love it. I love it, right? It's a cannon on the line. That's a lot of gold to be talking about. That's essentially a third of a kill. Well, not quite, but about a quarter of a kill maybe for a cannon. And you're not going to be fighting. You're the Jinx that's just sweeping up farm on the bottom side. I say that. He is moving up to where there might be a fight. So maybe ends up getting punished here. TP as well.
Rules. Yeah, this is really sketchy predicament here. As Leyan misses the first spear, Hoya just immediately gets obliterated. Beichuan slowed down. iBoy's hitting those shots. Solar Flare comes out from Yaoyao. But RA showing off their presence in the mid lane with this Rift Herald push. They will break this tower, and they can honestly get whatever they want on the map.
Yeah, iBoy kind of regretting his ult there because he could have got a bonus kill in that fight. But either way, RA just flexing their lead right now. This is not a fight that TT could realistically win. Their 5,000 gold down. There's a second charge for the Herald. iBoy will be able to clear this wave and maybe get a third charge off here. Might just be able to be finished off, though, by Ucal. The eye doesn't show itself, and it means the third charge goes on through. Oh, my days. I mean, we've just gone from, what, like 3,000 gold lead to now almost 6,000. That is a huge swing in favor of RA.
But see, TT, all right, everything's not going well, but they're holding on to the 20-minute mark, all right? That's where we've seen things kind of be fumbled a little bit by RA. We'll look back to this play in mid lane, though.
Yep, Renekton with the TP flank. It's always a terrifying thing to see. And Cube just sets up for Leyan to get the kill onto Hoya. Ucal had stepped too far forward. And I feel like TT really just miscalculating this situation. They're trying to buy space and time for their Aphelios down in the bottom side. And he does finish the tower off, but stepping way too far forwards in that mid lane. Not respecting the fact that there was vision behind them. And it's essentially the mistake that RA made in the first game, right? Where they pushed too far forward past TT vision, got flanked on a TP. That's kind of what's just happened to TT now, the opposite way around.
Dragon going over as Glacier Prison actually comes around. Ucal's on the deep flank here onto iBoy. iBoy has to flash and cleanse. The keeper verdict comes out. iBoy, he's not going to survive this one. And Ucal, he's going to get the solo kill point blank. Mega Death Rocket. Got to appreciate that. Depth Charge comes out onto Ucal, though. Now it's Beichuan that's caught out, and he tries to get actually the smite. The flash cube can't get the distance there. They are running, but they will not get away. At least Ucal won't for very long. He goes down to cube, and rest of TT need to be really careful as Leyan's on the side here, but they just need to get out.
Leyan was doing chickens. He was like, this is a great opportunity for me to get some counter jungling in while the rest of his team are scrapping for their lives. Cube will be the one to get those in the end. But yeah, big, I like the aggressive play here from TT, trying to get it invaded. Obviously, they got the kill onto iBoy here, but then punished, right? Couldn't get the play off quickly enough. It's off the back of this Drake for RA. Hoya trying to get the pick onto Leyan. It's a great flank from Ucal. It's a great kill overall with Beichuan knocking one away. It feels like a good play for TT, right, initially. But then you're in too deep. Yeah. And Strive has been knocked into this position by the jungler. Beichuan goes back in to try and protect Ucal, but ultimately ends up with them both ending up in trouble.
So question for you. Who sings the song In Too Deep?
It's Sum 41.
Okay, good. Thank God. Yeah, we had Rob over here, and he didn't know that, and he made the reference. It was hilarious. But in all actuality, that's a common occurrence in these two teams, right? We do see them in too deep a lot of the time, as we see actually Strive trying to land the crucial bubble on the Kepler, but won't find it. But still, so much pressure from RA. That is the name of the game at this point, right? 6,000 gold in the lead. Yes, you have Ucal taking the side lane tower, but Baron's on the board now. They could try to burn it. They could try to collapse. They could play around this top side of the map as well for RA, and it feels like TT just kind of have to move out every time.
Yep, Cube in the meantime pressuring on the bottom side, and they'll answer in the top lane. As you say, TT now, we need to see some of that like miracle macro out from TT. We need to see some unbelievable decision making because they have to find some picks. They have to find some miracle way into the game. Anticipate desperation plays from TT because it's the only way they get back in.
And that's how they got in last time. This is desperation, though, and maybe desperation pays off. They get iBoy down, and a second kill to boot right to Kepler.
I mean, you couldn't have timed it better, could you? Right on cue here from the side of TT. We say we want desperation plays, and they're like, hey, iBoy, you're too far up in the mid lane. They start the Baron off.
Oh, my goodness. It is actually insane how this happens every single time. But TT... you know, still having to pick through the parts right now and try to figure out where they go from there. Nice picks, but it's not going to mean all that much in the grand scheme of things unless they can snowball that into something, right? Getting Kepler some more money is huge. This mid lane will be a nice farm fiesta for him, but you still have to watch out for these picks that RA will be looking for.
Yeah, so we can take another look as iBoy obviously trying to force this wave in to get his reset, but Hoya on the flank, very nicely by TT. Set themselves up. Cube just there trying to protect his AD carry. iBoy just going for one too many auto attacks. If he doesn't try and clear that wave, if he just allows the casters to go by the wayside, he probably survives that play. Crucially, TT, again, I swear, there will be one sentence this series where I don't say crucially. I promise you guys. TT don't actually get much off the back of this, right? They get a couple of picks. They get themselves a bit of gold. It's the same as game number 2, though, where we saw a couple of these kills picked up, but they can't find anything. They can't actually threaten the Baron. And so it's still RA in control. The gold gap is minimized slightly, but it's really not that big of a deal for RA. It's unfortunate that they lose a couple of players, but it doesn't really affect things in the grand scheme of the game.
Yeah, and it just has to keep coming. And not getting picked is the next big, I guess, checklist for TT. As he's going to keep his verdict out. We'll boot Leyan out of his jungle.
That will never not be funny.
Yeah, I mean, he just delivered Leyan right to his chicken nuggies.
Leyan getting the efficient farming path. He knows the efficient path is to go via the poppy back to his chickens. It's genius jungling right here.
I absolutely believe. I mean, look at him. He's got 50 CS up. He's already back on the bottom lane. He's got the momentum right now. They're pinging on the dragon too.
I just love the animation as well. When Leyan gets knocked away, you see the kitty's paws like flailing, like he's still running on the floor. But yeah, as you say, they go towards the Drake. RA have complete control right now. It is a Cloud Soul, so not the end of the world, but still be nice for RA to pick up. Here, TP being channeled.
They do as well. The follow-up here could be huge. They have a lot of CC, but not much follow-up in that kind of situation. The Everfrost is available for Striver. He wants to try to get a setup for him his own right, but TT looking for exactly what they look for in game number 1. Using some pressure with this team composition, the beefy bodies to press up and move in. Yuyanjia has to flash. He does get out under tower. Remember, they haven't gotten these outer towers yet, and that makes it so difficult. Or at least they haven't gotten the outer tower in mid and top. So it's very difficult for TT at this deficit.
I mean, like, TT committing so hard to this play on the top lane. Just push the wave, guys. If someone just pushes that wave, you can go for the dive and you can maybe get the kills. But the fact that they don't means they can't actually go underneath the tower, and everyone from RA is safe. So I like that they're being proactive. I like that they're looking for these plays, but realistically, that wasn't going to work unless you can push the wave under. And now you've given RA tempo. A TP comes in from Ucal behind enemy lines. We need a miracle for TT right now.
It's a miracle that could possibly happen. Keeper's verdict, he's trying to get it. It gets canceled. Ucal hasn't stolen an ulti yet. The Baron about to go down already. He's in the base, stole it! Beichuan gets the Baron! Is that what makes the difference? He goes down, but RA, this is a top-tier fight if they want to find it, if they can force the hand of TT because it's an unmanned fight. 5v4.
Yeah, massive, massive moment here for TT. We said they needed a miracle, and Beichuan steps up to the plate. finds the smite, and RA, this is 2 games in a row where they go for a 50-50 on the Baron. This is never the answer, guys. Now, off the back of the pick, they will at least break this mid lane open. I don't think they can really stay around for the inhib, though. They can maybe try and threaten the tier 2 in the bottom side as well. So they'll get some gold for themselves. And you can see that the power play on the Baron might actually end up negative off of the back of all of these towers going down in favor of RA. But ultimately, the Baron still going the way of TT. You can see Kepler as well pushing up in this top side, trying to get some damage onto this tower. I think the recalls will go through, though. I don't think, unless you can cancel those.
They're stopping them. They're stopping them. They're willing to, because if they win this fight, right, they can just push through mid lane. The Keeper's Verdict comes out, but Beichuan, he's just going to go down to RA. A back is now coming through as Ucal did help get that mid lane tower. So RA's pounce is just a little bit of strength in their own right.
Yeah, Yaoyao and Ucal are in big trouble, though. They need to find creative ways to get out of the play and get a reset off. Yuyanjia is searching, so's Leyan, so's iBoy. I think Yaoyao might just get away with this one. Why is he walking towards them? Keep going away. Okay, it's fine.
He gave you a little jump there. A little jump scare. A little jump scare. It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, all in all, this is a lot of trading of objectives across the map. But Beichuan moves in, gets his ultimate cancelled here. I thought that this was doomed at that point. I thought there was no way. But Beichuan flashes in and gets that smite down. Massive moment for Beichuan there. Does go down for his trouble, but then we need to talk about the map trades that occurred, right? So mid lane inhib tower goes down, as well as the tier 2 in the bottom side for RA, whereas it is 2 towers in the top side, with all of that local gold going to Kepler as well. So you can see the Aphelios now actually overtaking iBoy at this point. 3 full items finished on the Aphelios. So with the Baron in their pocket, honestly, I feel like the last sequence of plays pretty comfortably favors TT, because you've got Kepler online now, you've got Ucal on 2.5 items, you have the Baron for another 30 seconds. Not that they can really use it, but it denies that push forward from RA.
But you see, TT setting up in the jungle here, just trying to find a pick if they can. Sleepy Trouble Bubbles, again, a pain here, and even the battle start, a bit of a pain. Beichuan about half health in the end after that trade. You got a minute till the dragon spawns, and only about 5 seconds left on this Baron buff. So TT going to try to get backs off quickly with that empowered recall, but majorly going to try to focus vision around this dragon pit.
So we are in the same situation, though, that we were in game number 1, where RA had a great early game. They found themselves a big lead, but haven't actually finished things off. This time around, TT much closer in gold. They didn't fall 10,000 behind this time. And we saw what happened in the late game, right? TT found flanks, found engages, found ways to close the gap onto Strive, onto Leyan, so that they couldn't just utilize this range composition. Renekton is not going to be a monster in the late game. Renekton is not going to be a big enough front line for RA to actually win a even 5v5 team fight, right? So keep your eyes on Hoya and on Yaoyao. If they can find the right engages, TT can definitely win fights.
RA are just going to force the fight here. Solar Flare does get flashed out of. Now Beichuan goes in. He gets immediately re-engaged on. He's going to die. Hoya comes in the back, but it's too little too late here. Cube is on the other side of the fight. You do have Ucal trying to take out iBoy, take out the back line. He almost gets him, but iBoy flashes, and that's done. RA have wiped the floor with TT in this fight, and there ain't no throwing in this game 3.
I will say, you know, remember that time that I said TT could win a fair fight? Yeah, it's not a fair fight if you start a 4v5. Like, TT engaged that fight while Hoya was not in the situation. I'm not really sure what went through their minds right there, but Hoya now just get chased to the ends of the earth. He will not get this recall off. Trouble Bubble will land, and Strive can just keep him away while the rest of the team pressures onto the map. I'm a little surprised that RA aren't going to go for the mid inhib here. I feel like that was pretty objective. Okay, no, a little bit of gameplay here. It's trying to make something happen. Mega Death Rocket actually missed this. Strive ends up getting the kill. Dragon goes down as well. The RA, I felt like they could have pushed to the base a little bit more, but they felt more secure going for those objectives, and we'll get a pick apart of that fight. Yeah, I mean, so it's a nice theoretical solar flare, but Strive just flashes it in the end. If that hits, it's a huge pick, but again, TT just committing before Hoya's even into play. There's not even that much more to say on this one, honestly, because of the way that that ends up panning out. iBoy even surviving from Ucal as well. Ucal with a good attempt to try and 2v1 on the backside, but iBoy doesn't go down. And it means that RA they're still in this fantastic position.
Oh
They've
my
increased their gold lead slightly.
That's crazy. I'm sorry, the damage done at the last fight, but it's actually crazy to see, like, for me, the way that RA have adapted, have changed from that game one, right? Like, I know we got the throw, we got the flip for the Baron, but in all actuality, it's positioning better. It's making sure that, you know, with Cube on this Renekton, a little bit of a different game plan here in terms of setup, in terms of strength, in terms of pressure, and they're utilizing it well. They just consistently go in. Now a TP play from TT, but Yaoyao caught out, almost dead. They might find Leyan. He's down as well. Cube being fought on the side. It's a split fight, split call from TT, but they are navigating it here. Big double kill for the Mega Death Rocket of Ucal, and all of a sudden, I might have cast a Cursed RA. They do get one shutdown back behind. iBoy is excited now, and he's getting some long-range damage with fish bones. They don't have any more follow-up, though, as TT realized they got enough to back away.
This is so tense between the two teams. RA almost losing control of the game right there with Leyan being caught out, being taken down. This is what we talked about. If TT can close the gap, if they can get onto these squishy carries, they will annihilate them, right? As Sylas and Aphelios have plenty of damage for finishing these characters off. And this is just Leyan going way too deep on the play. Like, there's no need to be pushing up that aggressively. Ucal happy to be the one to finish that off. 900 gold shot down on that play as well. And Yuyanjia finished off. Good attempt by Cube on the back line to put some threat down, but there's just this massive, beefy front line of Hoya, Beichuan, and Yaoyao that he can't get through. It means Kepler is basically untouched to start it off. We've got more action though, Mazel.
TT might need to back out of this one though. Ucal getting very, very low, and he's just gonna go right back in. Mega Death Rocket comes through. Battlestar will end his life from Strive, and Strive is looking for more. Yaoyao, he gets Sleepy Trouble Bubble. He will be left out in dust, and they have pushing in the mid lane, but RA, they're looking for another inhib on this top side.
Yes, they are. And TT just being picked apart here. I feel like what they needed to do was just play as a group. The thing that we sort of praised earlier on was the shot calling from TT, and it feels like that has fallen apart. They are on the cusp of being knocked out of playoff contention right here. BLG are rubbing their hands with glee as they witness this, because RA might just have done it.
They try to go for the engage for the death knell here, but RA realized they could just get the inhibs and back out. TT trying to find something maybe on the back end of it, but Baron is on the table, and at this point, I don't know if RA want to force it, but they're pinging onto it, so it might just be a party.
Going towards the Baron here, they can at least threaten this. They don't want a 50-50, but I don't think Beichuan can realistically contest. It's down to half already.
There's no way. I mean, he's going to rush it. He's going to try to get in at least maybe. But the Baron's already down. That puts so much pressure on TT because you have all the siege potential. You have super minions coming into 2 lanes at this point. And all eyes for RA are on that bot side. They want to get that last inhib. They want to do, you know, lasting damage to not only this game, but to TT.
Yeah, TT. Remember, it has been more than 3 years since they last made it into playoffs. That was back when they were Sino Dragons. They've been DMO since then. They rebranded to TT, and it's been a disastrous start to TT's existence in LPL. Then finally, this split felt like it was all turning around. Strive, this is a great little Q coming on in, flashes forward to get the range to finish that one off, and then goes and finds a cheeky little bubble onto Yaoyao as well. Very nicely done there. But ultimately, this would be a heartbreaking end for TT. They are not out yet, though. We've counted them out twice so far in this series. Once it was correct, once it was not. In game number 1, they found that miracle, and they want to do the same again.
We do, but it's going to come off the back of some miracles again. See if we can get something for TT as they're trying to put a defense on this bottom side. Strive just picking them apart with these Sleepy Trouble Bubbles, trying to find the damage on the tower here. TT is actually going to be utilized from Cube. He has the GA now. Double knockout for the Keeper's Verdict. This could be the turnaround for TT, but the damage coming back, it's so difficult to deal with. And Ucal actually finding so much of his health bar missing. He just tries to steal it, but it's the execute and the kill for iBoy. That signals the rally flags. And Rare Adam, they might have just played the biggest spoiler in TT's history. This is huge for RA to come back and take one last fight. We'll see if they can do it as Beichuan is already going down. iBoy is excited, and so is the RA fan base. It is an upset. It is a spoil. It is TT broken-hearted, and RA come out with a 2-1 victory.
Unbelievable win here for RA, and BLG are going to be over the moon with the way this one has panned out. All BLG need now is an AL 2-0, or sorry, a 2-0 against AL, and BLG will make it into playoffs. But TT, this is the end of their run. They were so close. There were so many people believing that this would be a squad in playoffs. But when they faced against the adversity that is the RA early game, they did not manage to withstand themselves. And look at the happy faces on RA as well. Remember, this is a roster that we're looking towards next year. On paper, it should be a solid roster. Didn't have a good split, but it feels like a positive way for them to end their year. And I'm cautiously optimistic about what can come next year for RA.
Me too. And I especially seeing some of the moments, again, what shows out for me for RA is the fact that individually, we see their outplays a lot of the time. We see the mechanical prowess of a lot of these guys, right? But it's when it comes together that always brings into the question of, like, what does this team do? How do they approach wins? And in moments like this, even if it's chaotic, even if you're questioning some of the calls around the objectives, a win's a win. And being able to slam it home like this with a lot of the pop-off plays to finish out the season, that's what I wanted to see from RA. I wanted to see a show out, and I feel like that's what we got from RA. Much to the chagrin of TT, where their season does end in disappointment.
It does indeed. And I will say, like, for both teams, this was quite a messy series to finish their season, right? Where TT relying on the massive comebacks, relying on the big swings to find a game in this series. I would have said that TT were the favorite coming in here today, but RA clearly showing that their early game incredibly potent. And when they did find those leads, able to turn it into more, able to push things to a close. Every single game, though, getting extremely close to losing, right? Every single game kind of throwing their lead away a little bit, but in the end, they finish it off. And you could see how much it meant to them with the big smiles on their faces at the end.
For me, man, it's the redemption from that game one, right? Like, we still never got to see that gold graph. Maybe it'll be lost to time. Maybe we'll find it. But, like, that game was heartbreaking for RA. So the fact that they were able to come back in game two, change up strategy a little bit, find a win, and then say, you know what, guys? That game one, that was execution. That was a play call that we should not have fallen for. And they execute their draft again in the game three, right? Additionally, with the change up at the Renekton in the top lane. I love to see that kind of growth, not only in the series, right, but from these players to kind of pull it together at the end. So massive props to the RA squad. And as we were saying, like, got to keep an eye on a lot of these players' developments going forward, right, especially looking at Strive and Cube and even Leyan.
I have to say, I am so sad for TT. Like, the story of this team across the course of the split, like, so many redemption arcs, right? Where we have Ucal and Kepler coming in, Yaoyao as well, who's previously putting, like, these players previously not having good splits in the LPL, previously looking like players that would end up going back down to the LDL. They have proven themselves this split. It has to be said. I expected this team to go to playoffs, and I was really hoping that they could maybe even make it to round two, maybe even go for a deep run if they could continue improving. But unfortunately, the early game's not working out for them, and I just wish that they locked in more proactivity for themselves, because going against Leyan's Nidalee and having this little that you could do about it, I mean, it's just never going to be a winning recipe.
It really isn't. I think we got to see the winning recipe, even if it was a little bit of looking back at the CS differential, maybe a little bit less happy about it. But I think we saw, like, what can happen if you do put all those resources into a carry like Kepler, who when handed those and handed a front-to-back team fight, can really navigate that stuff. And I obviously, I'm always the positive person, but I love to see those little things, even in TT's disappointment here. It's been a growth for a lot of these players. It's been a huge learning experience, and being oh so close while in the moment is absolutely shattering to the heart. I think it's a lot to be built off of, a lot to be grown out of, because they got to see so much adversity in this season and in its entirety. And to see it kind of come to an end, it'll give you that stinging moment that next time you're not going to let that happen, right?
Yeah, definitely the case. TT, I mean, a singular game win away. It really is heartbreak. It really is heartbreak for those guys. I will say, it does set up for a really exciting second series today, because now we have 3 potential results. We have AL winning is FPX and AL making it into playoffs. AL losing 2-0 is FPX and BLG making it into playoffs. And AL losing 2-1, FPX and AL making it into playoffs. So we have, 2 potential scenarios there. We'll have to wait and see which one's going to go down. FPX over the moon, though, with the way this one has been going. Honestly, like, they're very comfortable with the way that today has gone.
I think so as well. I think RA just, again, it's so funny. The spoiler thing at the beginning is like, oh, but TT are they're favored, right? The spoiler, it's fun, it's cool. They do it, and now everything is just upheaved. Like, the table has just been flipped from RA. It's like everybody's seeing where the food lands at this point. I'm just really excited that we get the series that we get next for anyone's Legend versus Top Esports. But I think for this series in particular, again, just reiterating on the fact that, like, I love the LPL, man. The fact that we're 2 days from the